I was asked to provide a final picture of what we're looking at in terms of the program and the end results. And that is going to be very, very complicated to do, especially in the mind map format that was requested. The issue seems to be that the scope of the program is so grand that with everything being integrated, each part into the other, there isn't really any singular vision of what the end result will be. There are numerous working components on the environmental front, economic and financial front, on the social front. Cultural and historical sensitivities aside, the integrated nature of the program required about 125,000 words just to generate the outline. And regrettably, that is simply an outline. That is not actually a comprehensive instruction manual by any stretch of the imagination. At the end of the day, the primary focus of the program for reforestation is the food forest. That is the reason that we are becoming eligible for the funding through the United Nations and their subsidiaries and partners. That, however, is subject to being operated by members, or at least hopefully former members of the more vulnerable members of society. So that portion of the program will be housed primarily in the development center, which that portion of the program will be primarily focused on the rural development centers or permaculture centers, isolated community service centers, whatever you wish to call them. In that location, you will have dormitories for the formerly vulnerable members of society and their families. You'll have educational institutions practicing a variation of the Steiner-Waldorf program based on the capacity and the aptitude of the individual. The curricula will be custom for each individual. That's manageable insofar as it is regulated by different categories, if you will. And there's a little bit more of a focus on the scholastic approach insofar as it aligns with the requirements necessary for the pursuits being followed by the individuals. And that is another video in and of itself. The rural development centers will also be the location for the corporate offices under the incorporated banner that will be at the national and international level. Everything will be decentralized and focused at the local level, with the local corporations being owned by the foundation and under a domestic or international incorporated banner. However, they will be established based on the needs and requirements as evidenced by the testimony and activities and reports of the social support services teams, and tailored and designed to meet the needs of the local community so that the individuals at the local level will have and maintain an enforceable voice in their own operations. So you've got three very intensive levels right there, and the actual aspects of the permaculture center will again vary. Those areas with exceptionally large livestock centers will be responsible for more of the organic processing or the processing of organic waste for the creation of organic topsoils, organic fertilizers, and other agricultural support. The areas with more adverse environments that mitigate or limit the ability to pursue agricultural pursuits and may suffer from food insecurities or even water insecurities, those are going to be subsidized by other areas that are more ideally suited to agricultural pursuits. So each and every location is going to be different, specific to the needs of the local communities. That is the adoptive nature of the program. So the adopted nature of the program is such that everything is going to be localized. The purpose of the domestic or international body is merely to coordinate the efforts and to ensure that the local variations have and maintain a meaningful voice. And if you want a final picture, each one's going to be unique to its own environment, local culture, local history, local environments, local ecological systems, local ecological restrictions. So there are so many variations that are possible. Which environment are you going to reforest? Well, we're going to reforest literally every kind of environment that is present in the Philippines, from the salt marshes and the mangrove swamps, the Maynil swamps, where Manila got its name, to the more isolated and challenging and difficult to reach mountainous regions where crops and plant life and the local fauna, the local wildlife is all unique to that area. So there is no singular vision of what's going to happen. If you wanted to set everything up in a mind map, you might be better off doing it based on the locations. But even when funding is approved by the United Nations and the program gets the green light, the foundation is not going to be able to select its own locations for work. The foundation is not going to be able to select the people that are going to be members of the operations. So there is really, unfortunately, no way to lay out a solid picture of what the end result is going to look like. The selection process for personnel is going to be conducted in cooperation with the Department of Social Welfare and Development, so that in the early phases of operations we can avoid individuals and families that have debilitating conditions brought on in most cases by abject poverty and living in impoverished conditions for multiple generations, such as alcoholism, gambling addictions, and drug addictions. Those programs will be made available later on. The agricultural pursuits in the salt marshes along the coastal regions is going to be substantially different than the agricultural pursuits in the mountainous regions. The educational systems, again a variant of the Steiner-Waldorf program, the educational systems are going to be based on the needs of the local communities, as are the commercial entities. The commercial interests will all be established in accordance with the needs and requirements of the local communities. So everyone is going to be unique in and of itself and merely coordinated at the national and international level. So I hope that gives you a better idea of what we're looking at and why it may be difficult to come up with a singular vision for the end of the program, for the end game, for the end goals. Because again, each location will be unique. It has to be in order to be effective. So once we have known locations, then we can provide accurate pictures. In the meantime, the only thing we can do is lay out generalities, and there is some assumption limited to the degree that the assumptions are based on the existing environments and localized conditions within the Philippines, be that environmental conditions that are based on geography or cultural and historical traditions that are based on the 90-plus indigenous tribes that are within the Philippines. Everything is unique to the individual locations where the facilities will be established, and until such a time as those locations are known, it is challenging at best to get an accurate picture, at least of the individual facilities. So the overall program is systemically sustainable human growth and development. And if everything has to be boiled down into a simple catch-all solution, systemically sustainable human growth and development is the ultimate goal. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Music by Hatman.